Hello and welcome to another video. In today's video, we will be talking about how cars keep me broke. Now, I made a video on comparing PCP, HP, lease and cash buying a car. So if you want to check that out, I will link it in the description below. It pretty much goes through the numbers to find out which is the best and cheapest option for you when it comes to buying a car. But when it comes to cars, let's not kid around. These are very expensive machines. They are very nice machines, and if you're a car enthusiast, if you're a petrol head, then you are very passionate about them. Even if you're not a petrol head and you're just a fan of cars, or you're not a fan of cars, but nearly everyone has some affinity to cars because we need them for transport. They have certain styling and performance, certain features and paint colors that make them stand out. They are also a status symbol to show that you are doing well for yourself. But they are costly items, and the issue with them is they are depreciating assets because every year the value of the car goes down. The value gets lower every single mileage you put on, for every single change of hand, and for every year the car gets older and newer models are being released. Now, some cars do gain in value because they are rare cars, but as like the cars, that is a rare situation as well. The majority of the situation, cars lose value. When you get a new car, immediately as you drive it off the forecourt, it's already lost 10% of its value. Then within the first year, it has lost another 10%, which means in the first year of ownership of your new car, you have lost 20% of its value. The second year, you lose another 10%. The third year, you lose another 10%. The fourth and fifth year, exact same thing, you lose 10%. After the fifth year, the speed a car depreciates slows down. From year 5 to year 10, it still loses value, but not at the rate it was in the first 5 years. So a new car after 5 years has lost roughly around 60% of its value. So if you bought a car that was 100 grand, it's worth 40 grand after 5 years. Now, the majority of people get their car on finance, and it's PCP finance. So they pay a deposit, then they have small monthly payments that they make. And at the end of the term of the contract, they have a big balloon payment left to pay. If they want to purchase the car, if they don't want to purchase the car, they can give the car back. And whatever equity they have from the car, they can put that as a deposit to another PCP, or they can completely walk away, but the majority of people will take out another PCP deal for 3 or 5 years. Now, the monthly payments may be a certain amount for the car, but your total monthly outgoings for the car will be more because there are other factors to consider. There is fuel and insurance to add to that monthly outgoing. For example, say that your monthly payments on PCP is £200 a month. Now you have insurance to deal with. You might have to get a parking permit to park your car. You're going to have to fuel the car. Petrol and diesel is not cheap nowadays. You need to consider maintenance costs for the duration of the time you have the car, road tax, and after 3 years MOT, servicing, and not to mention any fines that you get while you're driving, parking tickets, any PCN fines, and any speeding tickets. If you add everything in for the entire year, the car is costing you a lot of money. And to add insult to injury, the car is also depreciating like a rock sinking in water. That is a lot of disposable cash that you could have used in other ways. And it just doesn't have to be investing. It doesn't have to be investing in the stock market. It doesn't have to be saving up for a house. It could be spent on a holiday, spent on doing new activities and having new experiences. But instead, it's being spent on a car that is hardly used compared to the amount of hours you have in a day. Now, if you need your car as a means of work, so if it's a taxi or it's a private hire vehicle, or you use it for any other type of transportation where you are getting paid to drive, then that is perfectly fine. It's your source of income. It is your tool. But if you've got this car purely for pleasure or just for you taking you to work and back from work and for your daily pleasure, then understand this. While you are at work, your car is sitting there doing nothing. When you are sleeping, your car is sitting there doing nothing. When you are not in your car and driving it, your car is sitting there and doing nothing. It is just losing money while it's just sitting there. And depending on what car you have, you had to trade a lot of hours to earn that money to then go and buy that car. Even if you've got it on finance, you still have to earn the deposit money for the car. You still have to pay the monthly payments, meaning you still have to go to work and earn money, trading your hours to earn money so you can then pay the finance company every month for you to use your car occasionally. Not to mention, depending on which brands of cars you get, the repairs or maintenance on them can be quite expensive. Also, you could be a target for car theft because theft has increased since the pandemic. Certain brands of cars are more of a target than others. Now, personally, I like cars, but I think you should get whatever car you want to get secondhand. Get a used car. Get a car that is 5 years old. Let someone else take the bulk of the depreciation. Now, buy with cash. The reason why you want to buy with cash is because statistically, it has been shown that if you buy with cash, the average person spends £10,000 when they buy a car. But if you were to buy with finance, then people try to get a more expensive car, so you will spend on average £15,000. This is why it makes sense to buy it in cash. Now, if you can stay within that 10 grand budget or however much you can afford, and you want to get it on finance and the interest rate is favorable, the amount you repay on interest is not that much, something that you can cover with no problem, then there is no problem getting that because it's still a good deal. But if the interest rate is extremely high, if the monthly payments are extremely high, then I wouldn't recommend it. Now, I want you to think about something when it comes to new cars. You see, when you buy a mobile phone, a brand new, fresh, clean mobile phone, you take it out the box, comes in beautiful packaging. You take it out of the packaging and it's got that clean plastic covering the screen. The phone looks pristine, no fingerprint marks, no damages, no nothing. You peel that plastic off, feels very satisfying, and you are the first person to use it. That phone is clean, fresh, new. The same cannot be said for a car. See, if you lease a car or if you buy a brand new car, you are not the first person that sat on that seat. You are not the first person that has farted on that seat. Someone else has farted on that seat before you. Maybe it's the salesperson. Maybe it's the people that manufactured the car. Maybe it's the person that drives the car into the dealer's forecourt, or the person that delivers the car to you. If you look at the odometer on the car, you are not even the first person to put the first mile on the car. Cars already have a mileage reading on it, maybe low as 1 mile or maybe 10 miles, maybe more. The thing is, it already has some mileage put on the odometer. You are not the first person to put the mile on the odometer. You are not the first person to sit on that seat, and you are not the first person to open those doors. You see, somebody else has sat in your seat. Somebody has driven your car before you have driven it. someone has farted in your seat before you did, then what is the difference between you buying this brand new expensive car and a used car? Because your car has been driven, a used car has been driven. Your car has had someone sat in it, a used car has had someone sat in it. Meaning you're not buying a brand new fresh car, you're buying a used car. You are buying the latest car, a new model, but not an actual new car, because someone has used that car before you did. So I don't get why you are paying a premium for a car where you are not even the first person to sit in that car and put the first mile on it. Let me tell you something about cars, and let me tell you something about second-hand cars. If you get the car with maximum 2 owners with full service history, it drives pretty well and there are no oil leaks, there are no substance that look like mayonnaise when you take off the oil cap and when you pull out the dipstick. There is no sludge in the coolant and it drives pretty good. The steering is not off center and it doesn't pull towards one direction when accelerating and braking. Then that car could be a solid car. Now, if you want to make your car life even longer, there are some works that you can do to it. For example, depending on the age of your car, depending on the mileage of your car, you can have the timing belt changed, have the water pump changed, have the spark plugs changed, have the serpentine belt changed if needed. You can complete a full flush of all the liquids and then replace them. So you replace your washer fluids, you replace your coolant, you replace your brake fluids, you replace your oil, have oil change, you have a brake fluid change, you have a coolant change your oil filter, you change your every filter, change the cabin filter, the air filter. If you do that and then you do your regular oil changes and services, you drive it sensibly, your car will last a very long time. Modern cars can easily do 200,000 miles, no problem. Imagine this scenario. You buy a brand new car on finance, which costs £200 a month. Now add insurance and fuel, so now it costs £400. And that's being generous, because with the price of fuel and insurance at the moment, it will be higher. But let's just say £400. Now, say you bought a used car for £5,000 and you drove that car for 5 years. Now that car costs on its own, not including anything else such as insurance and fuel, nothing else, £83.33 per month over that 5-year period. So you would have been paying £83.33 per month to drive that car for 5 years. While if you was to get the new car and not include any insurance or petrol or anything, it would cost you £200 per month. That is a difference of £116.67 per month in savings. Now, if you times that by 60 months, which is 5 years, that is £7,000 in savings. Now, if you decided to put that difference of £116.67, say, into the stock market for 5 years with a 0 initial deposit and an interest rate of 7%, which is very conservative, but the reason I say 7% is because historically the S&P 500 returns 10% on average, but that's a nominal return. So you have to take in the real world factors of inflation. Historically, inflation has been 2%, and then consider fees and all this miscellaneous stuff. So let's say 7%, which is the real world value. That investment would have returned you £8,352.74. You would have put in £7,000 and you would have received £1,352.54 in interest. Now let's take this experiment further. If you get a new car and you got that car on PCP, by the end of your contract, you have a big balloon payment now. If you did not pay the balloon payment, then you do not get to keep the car because you did not buy the car. What happens is the finance company will tell you that you have some sort of equity and you can put that as a deposit for another car. This way, they get you hooked for another car. So now you get another car on finance for another 5 years. So you've been on a PCP deal for 10 years driving 2 brand new cars. How much would you have made in that 10 years? In that time, you could have a cash pot of £20,193.80. Of that, you would have contributed £14,000 and you would have earned £6,193.40 in interest. So just by getting a second-hand car and not a brand new car, the difference between the payments for a new car and a second-hand car per month for a 10-year period, you would have £20,000 in your savings account, in your investment account. That is a lot of money. That is a house deposit. So that was the video. Hopefully this was clear and it shows you how brand new cars keep you broke and how to best buy a car. Hopefully this video was helpful. If it was, then give it a like and subscribe. Comment down below what you think and what is your favorite car, and take care.